Well, it's been an electric day in the markets. The stock market is rebounding hard, and so are cryptos after a bit of a dip. If you've been following along in the markets, we had a dip overnight into the early morning hours, and I did put out a community post that I bought the dip, so I did buy myself back in. I'm back up to my full allocations. Whether or not that's the final low, we're going to go over in a little bit, but here's our Bitcoin chart. This is the 15-minute view, May 26th, 8:15 a.m. my time in the morning. This thing bottomed and then it rebounded very powerfully. Bitcoin saw a low of about 28,000, which didn't quite get back down to the lows that we hit on May 12th, which were close to 25,400. And we've seen the same kind of action across the other cryptos. Ethereum, same thing, hit about 1732. Bitcoin Cash got down to about 172. Ethereum Classic, not really much of a pullback at all, but we got a spike down to about $20 or so. Looking at Dash, same kind of thing, not as much of a lower low. Stellar Lumens, bit deeper, about 12 cents. And finally, EOS, when you look at that one, it was a nice little spike down to about 119, 120. So none of the coins broke their previous lows that we hit on May 12th, but we weren't expecting that to happen either. If you guys have been following my other updates, I did have a potential setup for a lower low, or not a lower low, but another low. And for most of the coins, we didn't project lower than our low. Most of them projected right around where our low was, maybe a little lower, maybe a little shallower. In Bitcoin's case, we actually did project a little bit shallower of a retrace than what we saw on May 12th. So right now, things are looking all right. And on Ethereum, same kind of thing. We're projecting possibly down to 1,600 or lower. We didn't quite get there, but it's a convincing spike down. You can look at the MACD. We got stretched and we pulled back up. And on Bitcoin Cash, when we look at our overall projection, we project a good bit lower, but again, we were actually projecting off of this spike high. So may have been a distorted picture to say the least. So now the question is, do we have a proper impulsive wave up? Well, when we zoom up a little bit on Bitcoin specifically, it's got that look. I'm going to go to the closest view I have here, the 1-minute view, and that can be convincingly impulsive. You got a 1-2 down here, third wave, maybe a fourth wave consolidation, and a fifth wave higher. If that follows our Fibonacci proportions, that could be a good sign. Let's see if we have our third wave here, build our retrace out. More or less does. It's not the perfect thing. These things don't always have the perfect proportions at the micro level, but that's convincingly a 3, 4, and a 5. And when we take our overall extension, we're probably in the second wave already. Look for this to dip to about 29,000 or as low down as about 28,668. Once that happens, we should see some powerful upside from there. So look for that to happen. However, if we see any continued downside, there may be a nominally lower low coming. When we look at our MACD, we got very stretched on the third wave top as I was measuring. And well, we had a divergence. So that is about what you'd expect to see in a completed impulse wave. And we're currently in a consolidation. When we look at the close-up chart on Ethereum, same kind of story. You see a bit of a blow off and a clear divergence, third wave here. And Bitcoin Cash, again, my proxy for all my altcoins, exact same thing. I'm actually going to skip over the Dash because, again, sometimes it has the nice looking shapes and patterns. And well, the shape is identical across all the cryptos as we are seeing. So as of now, at the market close Friday, we are basically following the pattern that we were looking for short term. And we have reason to believe that we are done with our pullback. You can see a bit of an MACD divergence developing here for Bitcoin. Look at this thing all the way up. It's upward leaning. And we've had slightly lower lows each time. So all of you TA folks, that's your sign. We're seeing divergences. There may be other signs as well, volume divergences, RSI, but I don't track those in this analysis. This is purely Elliott wave theory with some MACD applied. So why are we so bullish? Well, I did mention there's a rally in everything. There's been green everywhere. I know the crypto market doesn't reflect it, but a lot of these are still rebounding from the crash we had overnight. But pretty much every asset class is in a colossal rebound. We've had 2, 3, 4, 5% in some assets. And when we look at our Dow Jones Index, which is representing our stock market, this is pretty damn nice. We got a 5-wave impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off of our May 12th, or I'm sorry, May 20th bottom. Again, we had a lower low in the stock market that we didn't see in cryptos. Clear, classic second wave, perfectly deep enough just beyond a 30.2% retrace. Then we have a nested 1-2, and we are presumably done with the third of our third wave, or it could be maybe the third of a third of a third wave, something like that. So whatever the case, we're in the middle of a third wave up, and we got some upside. So very bullish development. Not to mention, we actually had an impulsive finish to this. This looks like a good 5-wave pattern down a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, we had a host of divergences on the bigger time scale, which I'm not going to dig into in this video. So very good news so far. Let's see if cryptos can manage to keep their upside. We did see a bit of a pullback at the very end of the day. This looks like a healthy consolidation. That could signal that maybe we're, again, completing our second wave in the cryptos, as I was mentioning with Bitcoin. So expect this to go a little bit lower before we're done with our pullback. I don't know how this got shifted around, but we may not be completely done yet with the correction. But well, I already gave you guys the short-term time frame clues as to what we're looking for. So just on the big picture, quick refresh. I'll be going over these in the individual coin videos. I know I need to update all of my notation on Bitcoin specifically, but we're still in the box. We did bounce out briefly. Expect this thing to turn around pretty well, pretty quickly. We're already seeing the MACD turn around in Bitcoin, and we still have our big picture targets in play. This does look like we have one more impulse left to get to our top, which is, yes, a major top. I know a lot of my viewers are asking when the top will be, how long will it take? I have trend lines projecting somewhere in the second half of 2023. That is actually primarily based on my chart for Marathon Digital Holdings, MARA. I've chosen this because it has a very clean impulsive pattern that hit all of our standard Fibonacci retracements, extensions, all that. And we have a pretty clean looking trend channel that does point to about October. But again, please take with a grain of salt, because in Elliott wave theory, it's all about price levels. The timing is secondary. And as we develop more of a structure to the upside, we'll have a much better idea of where we may see a top, especially if we see confluences in a certain time frame, in a certain time period. I know the Dow is pointing also to the middle to the end of 2023. So that'll be exciting. As we get more information, we can have a more confident projection. Ethereum is in the same situation, still in the box, looking to turn back up, clear MACD divergence and a curl back up. And this definitely looks like we have one more rally to go before we're done. Minimum target for our ultimate top is about 75.80, but we have targets still going all the way up to 18,000 plus. So once we have a bigger first and second wave down, we can project that much more confidently, which we'll go over as the structure develops. Bitcoin Cash, I got a question about this one earlier. The big picture pattern is still exactly the same. It's based on this being a 1-2 and the fact that we are, and the interpretation that this is actually a diagonal that we're finishing. So our top projection still is close to the all-time high, although that is subject to, again, seeing the bigger picture structure shape up. And here too, this may actually be a third wave top. I know I went over in Dash and EOS how, because we don't have any history going back, that this is best identified as a major third wave top in most coins. So that would entail that we have one more rally to go. And if we have a 38% retrace in theory, then our upper target is somewhere between 39.78 to as much as 46,000, which is probably well beyond any kind of reasonable expectation. So 4,000 is still a key resistance for Bitcoin Cash. Ethereum Classic, same situation, same kind of pattern, some kind of a diagonal. This doesn't go back quite as far, but whether this is a third wave top, first wave, whatever it is, we're still expecting one more rally into the finish. 1038 remains the resistance and it's been the resistance, very strong point of confluence for the many months I've been doing this analysis. Looking at Dash, I did go over how Dash has enough history that we can make a bigger picture pattern. There's a chance that this is a truncated bottom to a larger degree fourth wave. So I now have this 4 drawn here. Could be that this is actually a major fourth wave finish, not the second wave that we think it is. So based on that, we should also have one more rally left to go. Whether it's an impulse or an ending diagonal remains to be seen, but we have our Fibonacci's overhead. Our minimum target is in the 1,086 range, but we could see a bit higher in Dash, especially when we look at the bigger picture confluences here. Since we hit past the 1.618 for our third wave target of the bigger Fibonacci extensions, we're leaning close to the $6,000 mark. Again, if this bigger structure materializes, we don't know until we have a bigger 1-2 setup to make our estimation. And here's Stellar Lumens. Same thing here. This was the top January 2018. Very well could actually be a third wave top, and with a 30% retrace. So where our actual target is, we'll be calculating a little bit more accurately once we have a bigger setup. But right now I'm looking at this as a 1-2 setup, which means we should have a lot of upside. Could take a more diagonal form, but we still have our resistance around the dollar mark. That's where we've struggled to punch through. But on the next rally, I would expect us fully to get there. Look for a top, maybe a little bit higher than this. If we assume this is actually a 38.2% retrace, that's pretty close to being approximate. So $1.05 all up to 331. There's an upper target of the $10 range. That will remain as is. I'm going to undo that just to, that was just, again, off the cuff, back of the envelope where we're looking. We'll have more updates on the Stellar Lumen update. And finally, EOS. This is the one coin that did break its March 2020 low. So this is best interpreted as possibly a fourth wave. I know I had some confusion in the comment section. You just changed your chart, blah, 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 blah. It didn't really change the overall pattern. We're just interpreting this as a third wave top, which is a little less bullish interpretation, which means we have one more rally left, but we have to reflect, reflect whatever sentiment we see in Bitcoin, Dash, Ethereum, some of the other coins. So in my personal opinion, this makes much more sense as a third wave. The long grinding nature of this correction, because we had a lower low here, makes it much more likely a fourth wave, which means we should have one more rally to go. I posted this video yesterday on where our targets are. So please check that out if you are more curious about details on EOS. Anyway, look at it, expect the everything top to hit whenever we get to the top. Again, you can ask when. I've given you my relative estimate, but we're not going to have a better timing estimate until we get a little bit more upside. And it's all about the sequence of events. What price levels do we get to before what price levels? What do the retracements look like? What do the structures of the shapes of the structures look like? Those will all determine when and how close we are to the top. So I'll have plenty more updates coming our way, including community posts. If you're looking to buy the dip, that wasn't a bad chance to do it. But if you need a more confident setup, look for a larger 5-wave setup to go. So on Bitcoin specifically, if we assume that this is actually the second wave down, well, we should see a rally that takes us over $38,000, maybe $40,000. And then once we pull back from there, that would be your entry point for Ethereum specifically. If we consider this to be the bottom of our second wave, let's see, that would mean that we should see a rally up to anywhere from $2,500 to $2,700, $2,800 and a pullback from there. At that point, I think you can more confidently make a purchase. So don't get FOMO, don't panic. This is what happens after bottoms. We start melting up. Sometimes we rip upwards and we're caught in denial that the crash is over. But we don't have a confirmation. So stay tuned, subscribe so that you don't miss any more updates. And until next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.